Everyone's saying the Carrack doesn't cut it anymore. Not in Pyro, not in 4.3. But hang on. This ship got some serious under-the-radar upgrades that hardly anyone's talking about. Look, while you've been drooling over whatever new concept JPEG CIG's dangling this month, they've been quietly fixing the Carrack's biggest problems. Remember back when you'd sit in that pilot seat and just stare helplessly at approaching enemies? Now you've got actual teeth. Twin-size 4 Rhinos pumping out 1,600 damage per second. Those cargo pods everyone's been whining about since 2020? They finally open. Not all the way down like they should, but progress, right? And that medical bay, the one collecting dust since you bought the ship, with outposts and Pyro being hours apart, suddenly having your own mobile spawn point doesn't seem so useless after all. God, the Carrack relationship is complicated. You know that feeling when you finally melt your Carrack after swearing you're done with it. Then 3 days later, you're crawling back to the pledge store because, well, nothing else scratches that same itch. The 600 comes close, but it's not the same. The Odyssey looks promising, but it's still just a JPEG. The Carrack keeps evolving patch after patch in these tiny, easy-to-miss ways while everyone's distracted by the shiny new toys. And when you're staring at that 34 million AUEC price tag in-game, wondering if it's worth grinding Siege of Orison for 2 weeks straight, these hidden changes completely flip the script on whether this beast deserves a spot in your hangar. So what exactly is the Carrack in 4.3? It's technically Star Citizen's premier expedition-class Pathfinder, but in normal human speak, it's your mobile headquarters that happens to fly. On paper, it's got Tier 2 medical capabilities, solid cargo space, vehicle storage, and a hangar for a snub ship. What that really translates to is having your own portable rest stop that works anywhere from Microtech's frozen wastelands to Pyro 4's hellscape. The mistake most players make, and I made this for years, is treating the Carrack like it's just a bigger constellation with more rooms. Then they get frustrated when it handles like a brick with wings and costs a fortune to operate. The ship isn't broken. Your expectations are. Look, I'm going to say something unpopular here. The Carrack wasn't built to be convenient at all. It wasn't designed for quick bounties or package runs. It was built to be comprehensive, to handle anything a deep space mission might throw at you. And with Pyro now open, that distinction matters way more than it did when we were just puttering around Stanton. Nobody's talking about this, but the Carrack's offensive capabilities got completely overhauled. Back in the day, sitting in that pilot seat during combat was basically just waiting to die. You had no weapons. Zero. Nada. You just sit there hoping your shield's held until your friend in the turret could shoot down whatever was killing you. Now, you've got control of that top remote turret. 2 size 4 CF 447 Rhinos at your fingertips. Over 1,600 DPS of please leave me alone that you can bring to bear without anyone else on board. It changes everything. Last week I was out near Pyro 2, running a solo mining operation. 3 dusters came screaming in. Old Carrack me would have been space dust. New Carrack? I managed to hold them off long enough to spool my quantum drive and get the hell out of there. Didn't even lose an engine. But, and this is a massive but, there's this weird balance issue nobody seems to notice. The Carrack has 126,800 shield HP, which sounds great until you realize its hull has only 88,000 HP. The 890 jump, another exploration vessel, has 150,000 HP. Ships literally half the Carrack's size have more durability. What this means in practice is your shields feel tanky, but once they drop, you're basically flying a glass cannon the size of an apartment building. The Carrack desperately needs at least 250,000 hull HP to match what it's supposed to be doing, especially with Pyro's NPC dusters hitting like trucks compared to Stanton Pirates. Right now, it's like wearing Kevlar over a t-shirt. Looks tough until someone pokes a hole in it. So, have you taken your Carrack solo since the weapons update? Because holy crap, the forums are having a civil war over this. Half the posts are like, it's viable now, while the other half are still calling it a multi-crew only money pit. I get both sides. You dropped enough money for a decent gaming PC on this ship, and it still feels awkward for everyday use, like buying a submarine to commute to work. But maybe, just maybe, we've been using it wrong this whole time? The Carrack isn't a ship. Stop thinking of it that way. It's a mobile base that happens to move through space. With 456 SCU cargo capacity, you're hauling almost as much as dedicated cargo ships while getting, everything else the Carrack does. And those side cargo pods that finally open now? That's genuinely useful when you're loading up at outposts. Let me tell you about last month's Jumptown operation. Our org didn't just bring a Carrack, we turned it into Command Central. Parked it 2 clicks out from the facility, used the Pisces for package runs, deployed Cyclones with guns for perimeter security, and the medbay meant anyone who died could spawn right back in the fight. The cartography deck became our war room, with someone tracking hostile ships on the scanner. No other single ship could do all that. Not one. The Hammerhead's great for combat, but has no medbay. The Odyssey isn't out. The 890 is too cumbersome. The problem isn't that the Carrack is bad. It's that people try using it like an oversized arrow. It's like buying an RV and complaining it doesn't handle like a sports car. That's not what it's for. And now with Pyro's massive distances between outposts, having a ship that can go the distance without refueling becomes crucial. The Carrack's 10.6 SCU quantum tank means you can cross the entire system, scan everything interesting, and get back to Ruin Station without sweating fuel. Try that in your Cutlass. Man, I learned this lesson the hard way. Like, painfully hard? 6 months back, I was convinced I could make the Carrack work as a bounty hunter. Took it out near Hurston, accepted some VHRT missions, and it was a disaster. That 140 SCM speed? Targets just laughed as they flew circles around me. Trying to hit anything with just the pilot guns? Forget about it. And don't get me started on maneuvering that thing in atmosphere. It's like trying to parallel park a studio apartment. After failing my third straight mission, I was rage typing in global chat about how the Carrack was trash and CIG had scammed everyone. Some random player just whispered, "Dude, you're using a scientific research vessel for combat missions and getting mad it doesn't work like a Gladius." I wanted to argue, but damn, he was right. The next day, completely different approach. Parked the Carrack in orbit, took the Pisces down for the actual bounties, then returned to the mothership whenever I needed repairs or to restock. My success rate skyrocketed. I actually started enjoying the whole logistical challenge of it. It's like I'd been trying to use a Swiss Army knife as a sledgehammer and getting mad it wasn't breaking walls. The Carrack isn't supposed to do everything well. It's supposed to let you do everything, period. With Pyro being so much more dangerous than Stanton, having a secure base that moves with you matters more than ever. Alright, this is where the Carrack starts making way more sense in 4.3 with Pyro. This ship was designed for exploration gameplay that we're just now starting to see bits and pieces of. And with each patch, more of those seemingly useless features are quietly coming online. That cartography deck wasn't just put there to look pretty. The mapping mechanics they're rolling out in 4.3, that's where you'll use them. The drone bay isn't just an empty room. Those deployable repair drones mentioned in the roadmap, that's where they'll launch from. Even that command deck blast shield you can deploy isn't just for show. It's designed for the radiation zones and environmental hazards scattered throughout Pyro. CIG built this ship for gameplay that's only now starting to exist. It's like they gave us a smartphone back when we only had 2G networks. If you're flying a Carrack in 4.3, here's some practical advice. First, ditch the power balance you used in Stanton. In Pyro, max those shields even at the expense of weapons and engines. The Carrack's massive quantum fuel tank means speed doesn't matter as much as surviving long enough to use it. Second, bind your medical bay controls to easily accessible keys. When you're getting shot up by dusters, fumbling through menus is a death sentence. And if you're running with crew, practice your Pisces launch sequence until it's muscle memory. Being able to deploy your shuttle in under 30 seconds can make all the difference when hostiles show up. The Carrack desperately needs point defense turrets, though. With how aggressive Pyro NPCs are, those would make a world of difference. CIG, if you're listening, please just 2 PDCS. That's all we're asking for. This is supposed to be a military explorer after all. The Spectrum forums are absolutely wild with Carrack debates right now. Ever since the Odyssey was announced and Pyro dropped, it's been nonstop Carrack is love, Carrack is life versus Carrack is obsolete threads. What cracks me up is seeing how different orgs are adapting their Carracks for Pyro, despite the exploration mechanics still being missing. Some have turned their Carracks into dedicated medical ships, parking them just outside hot zones. Others use them purely for cargo. Exploration guilds are still waiting patiently to put those scanning stations to actual use beyond the basic ping system we have now. And yes, Carrack conventions are still a thing. Last week there was a meetup near Pyro 3 with 15 Carracks in formation. The screenshots were insane. You know that joke that makes the rounds in global chat? How do you know someone owns a Carrack? Don't worry, they'll mention it within 30 seconds of joining your party. But honestly, that pride comes from somewhere real. This ship represents what Star Citizen promised to be, a universe where your ship is more than just a weapon platform or a cargo box. It's a home. But seriously, that whole HP being less than a terrapin is just absurd. Sort it out, CIG. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts of maximizing your Carrack in 4.3 and Pyro. First, quit thinking of it as your daily driver. It's not. It's your mobile headquarters. Upgrade to the XL1 quantum drive immediately. The fuel efficiency combined with the Carrack's massive tank will let you cross Pyro multiple times without refueling. Always keep a ground vehicle in the garage. The Ursa rover is perfect for exploration, while the ROC lets you capitalize on those mineral deposits you'll find. And don't neglect your Pisces loadout. That little ship becomes your daily driver when the Carrack is parked. For combat situations, especially in Pyro, remember, defense first. Position the ship to give your turret gunners overlapping fields of fire, and don't be afraid to use that command deck blast shield when things get hairy. Solo pilots should always have a quantum destination pre-spooled. Hesitating for even 10 seconds in Pyro can be fatal with how hard those NPCs hit now. The medical gameplay becomes crucial when you're operating deep in Pyro. Stock up on medical supplies at Ruin Station before heading out, and coordinate with your org to use the Carrack as a forward operating base. Being able to respawn on your ship instead of waking up back at Ruin Station after a death can save you a 30-minute quantum journey. Those cargo pods opening on the sides is a good start, but they still need to lower all the way down like the caterpillars. And that rear elevator really should extend to the ground. It's such an obvious quality of life improvement that it's baffling it hasn't been implemented yet. The Carrack was designed to land on unknown worlds, but loading and unloading it is still awkward after all these years. Alright, I've shown how the Carrack has evolved from an overpriced concept to an actually useful command center that's finding its purpose in Pyro. Now I want to hear from you. How are you using your Carrack these days? Cargo hauling? Combat support? Or are you one of the brave souls actually using it for exploration already? Drop a comment with your favorite Carrack loadout. Have you found any clever ship combinations that fit in the hangar? That arrow without landing gear trick still works, and I've heard the Buccaneer fits too. Any particular locations in Pyro you've found that work great as Carrack operating bases? And then, thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into Star Citizen's most iconic explorer. The Carrack remains that ship that everyone has an opinion about. Love it or hate it, you can't ignore it. Remember, as you're flying through the dangerous expanses of Pyro, home isn't where your hangar is, it's wherever you've parked your Carrack. Keep those shields charged, those scanners active, and maybe someday we'll get those damn cargo pods to actually reach the ground. Fly safe out there.